Hello viewers and welcome back to a new video. On the Alsace test course we are racing the BMW Z8 I believe. The car has proven to be quite challenging to drive, I'll be honest. So starting in P2 we got a British driver behind me and a Spanish driver right behind, with a qualifying time of 52 seconds .923. Not the best performance I could get, but it is what I had. Starting from the grid, lights out and away we go. Got a bit of wheel spin on the getaway, but I immediately corrected and tucked behind the BMW. Well, we are all in the BMW, more specifically the British driver up ahead. Into turn 1, I'm late on the brakes and I ram into him, I push him wide, and he sails off the circuit. I wanted to give back the position, but if I wanted to give him back the position, I would have lost 3 or 4 other positions, so I decided not to. The cost of being nice here is too much compared to the end of the race where there is a gap between every other driver. Borderline dirty driving, correct, but it just happens, this stuff happens, sometimes on the receiving end, sometimes you're on the giving end. This time I was on the giving end, and honestly if it was near the end of the race I would have given the position back where I would only lose 1 or 2 seconds compared to him and no other drivers would overtake, because again, by the end of the race all cars are separated. And here we go into the final corner of the first lap. You can see the British driver was not especially affected by it, he only lost around 3 positions, which is, it is something, but again it's the start of the race and the cars are still compact. You could very easily make it back to the front with a less than 5-second gap, I believe. You could still very easily make it back to the front with a, I don't know, 0.6 faster lap. And you can see he is working his way up. He's from P4 to P2. He's got a very interesting racing style which seems to suit the circuit incredibly well, which on this circuit I do not seem to be getting it at all. It doesn't really click with my racing style, especially on this corner right here, where then you're going uphill, then very suddenly you start to lose grip and you go downhill. So you can see through here you have to go quite slow in 3rd gear, which is quite interesting, because you never usually do this on any other track, but this one has got this insane corner that has, I don't know, maybe a 40 degrees slope going downhill, so it's quite interesting. And this final banked corner, if it was with downforce cars, it would be really easy, but again, we're driving a very mechanical car with almost zero downforce elements. So like you have to find the perfect balance of slip angle, which is quite hard on a banked corner, where you've got your suspension compressing and making it just that much harder to slip angle over here. So you can see many drivers choose not to slip angle, which is slower, but again it's a banked corner which does make you faster, not to slip angle. But again, also the braking section is quite tricky, because every time you hit the brakes on that corner your car has a tendency to twist. So it's not impossible to brake completely straight, but then you also lose a bit of time, so you have to find the perfect balance of braking straight, slipping and all of that. And would you look who it is, the British driver that I hit on lap 1 is right behind me. At this point I have zero idea if he's plotting something to go against me. It was a minor offense that I did, which was a racing incident caused by my incompetence. I'll be honest, my incompetence on that brake led to that racing incident, which if I was him I'd be mad, but then it's not too big of a deal, which you can see he's right back on my tail. And again, as I was saying, you can see how the car has an extreme tendency to twist and drift in that corner. And now you can see it's only 180 kilometers an hour, but the car looks much faster than it is. And again, maybe because it's a small car it feels quite fast, but then you also got the very twisty circuit, so maybe that makes it also feel fast. And you can see I made a tiny mistake on the brakes and he took advantage of that and flies past me. Is it karma? Very possible. I am looking to get back at him ASAP, but he's actually quite faster than me. If you saw the laps before, he was closing the gaps maybe 2/10 a lap, and you can see he's got the fastest lap, so it's gonna be a quite difficult work, and we both have very different styles. We both take complete different driving styles and racing lines, so each got their own advantages and disadvantages. The disadvantages on his racing style seem to be outweighing the advantages of my racing style, therefore making him faster. And you can see me on this car, I'm kinda all over the place, I quite have zero idea what I'm doing and I'm pretty clumsy around it. And then you can see him, who's very tight and very neat on this corner. So pretty much for the rest of this race, he stays ahead, extending the gap. And by the end of the race, the gap was a 2.7 second gap. So I got a P2, not too good, not too bad. Alright, here we go, race 2, another British driver, and again me starting in P2, but this time we seem to have a Dutchie behind. Let's see how this race will go as it counts down and it's lights out and away we go. Doing a 2nd gear start eliminates all the wheel spin of the 1st gear starts, which reduces the amount of times you have to shift and which also reduces the amount of time your car is not sending power to the ground. As we round turn 1, I keep it nice and tight, no incidents, I'm right behind the British driver as I make a tiny mistake that sends me off track, but I immediately correct it and go back on track. The exit speed I built up vanished immediately, but I got a corner in front to make up for it. As it goes, semi-defensive on this corner. On this corner you have to be on the outside and switch to the inside, You have to carry a very strange line because then it's a tightening corner with a massive downhill and then a sharp left. So it is very important to get your entry angle correct, because even like if you're 2 degrees off, it literally messes up the entire entry and exit of the corner. Going through the final corner of the first lap, I seem to be much less clumsy around this corner, a bit more confident, able to carry much more speed through the corner, and able to lay down the power much more comfortably. As you can see, the Polish driver ramming the wall, obliterating it, losing a bunch of time, and losing his potential win. I keep my foot down and think nothing of that incident, and I continue the race as if nothing happened. I'm trying to push time and space to catch up the driver up ahead, because I know if I want to win this, I need to catch up to him now and put the pressure now, because if he gets far away, I'll never catch him. And as you can see already, he's still got quite of a big gap. I got a purple sector 1, but this is just the beginning of the next lap, which means nothing, basically. Everyone who did not spin out did also get a purple sector 1. It only starts at the end of the third lap, because then you have the benchmark lap. Because the first lap, it's not a benchmark lap, because you're starting from a standstill. Going into the next corner, you can see me trying to experiment with new lines, trying to experiment with new ways to be faster, which... it's not the time to experiment in the race, it's better to experiment in qualifying, but I better learn it quick. Desperate times require desperate measures. I'm completely desperate for the win. So I'm trying everything in my power, and you can see me pushing it a bit too hard, ramming into the wall, getting a bit of front and suspension damage. What led to that incident was not my extra speed, but it was rather my late entry into that corner. Well, it's not, I wouldn't call it a corner, but it's like a corner. It's more of a gentle curve. And I have seemed to gotten a bad entry, or a late entry to be more specific, into it, so that's why I ended up in the wall. Since what seems to be happening in the race is the leader extending the gap, let's talk about me. I'm a ghetto racing driver who seems to be funding his career through YouTube and any other means possible, so a little subscribe would help out a bunch. You could also check the links in the descriptions if you want to copy the equipment I use, or if you just want to subscribe to my Patreon, which I will be launching very soon. Well, I did launch it a while ago, more than a year ago actually, but I have swept it under the carpet and forgot about it. By the end of the third lap, he seems to be off into the sunset, so I'll wrap it up, and he seems to have extended the gap. We'll see what we can do next race. Alright, here we go, the third and final race. With an improved qualifying time, I'm starting in P1. Setting the time of 52.438 was all I needed to get on pole. Starting in second gear, getting ready, light out, and away we go! You can see the benefits of starting in second gear immediately, because you're on the verge of wheel spin, and you don't have to shift into gear 2, so therefore it saves you 1 gear shift, which saves you a couple milliseconds that you are not playing the power down to the track. And you can see it helps me get off cleanly, because I'm a driver who believes in using absolute zero driver assist other than ABS. Because be honest, it's impossible to drive this car without ABS. Most cars are incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to drive with ABS. But then, for example, if you go to the super formula cars, it is quite possible, even not that difficult. But other cars, not happening. As you can see, going to the final turn of lap 1, I am up into the lead and sort of extending my gap. I have learned all the nooks and crannies of the final corner, and I'm actually quite almost perfecting it. And I'm just able to carry so much more speed as this guy goes off. I have no idea who it was, but you can see him in the barrier. That little silver blob is the car that went off. I have no idea who it was, but holy sheesh, man. That had me laughing, I'll be honest. And with pretty much all competition wiped off on basically lap 1, I'll just shoot into the sunset, I guess. Because I don't know, I think the closest car is like 3 seconds behind. It's nowhere to be seen, like actually. And I wasn't far off, it's 2.1 seconds behind. So, yeah, if he wants to win, it's still possible, but I'm not making that easy because I'm near perfecting the track and I'm near very fast. I think I didn't check the global lap times, but I think I'm like maybe like 1 or 2 seconds off the global lap times on this race. Which is quite considerable, but it is what it is. The guys on the global lap times, if you check any of the like top 10 global lap times, they're absolutely insane. These guys are animal, they are not human, they're machine. These guys drive in such a way that literally mesmerizes me. And my best tip for anyone who wants to get fast is literally load in the Ghost and copy them, basically. It literally helps you quite a lot, and actually it helps you get into the top 100s, actually. I had a little bit of a stutter, but we don't talk about that. Again, it could actually quite help you get into the top 100s if you follow the leaders, or like, yeah, follow the global leaders through the ghost thing, because you can load the ghost if you are in the ranked qualifying mode. And like, you can't be in the waiting session where you're waiting for the race, like doing the qualifying there. You have to be in like the set qualifying mode where there is no timer. Then from there you could load the ghosts and then be pretty fast and get maybe top 200, 100. And I will tell you, it is pretty difficult. I have done time trials and I got top 4.5% in the world, and it was pretty difficult, and it's not easy. It's not. And even in the top 4.5, there's still hundreds of other players. And here we go, we're wrapping up the race, doing a little bit of celebrations, you know, enjoying my life. And here we go, got the one that I had done maybe like 10-20 races for. These guys were especially dirty in other races, and I've been quite lucky to get a clean race.